Okay, now we're going to move into the research and extension updates.
So at Virginia Tech, on the Blacksburg campus, we've just recently constructed a little under an acre hop yard, and couldn't have done it without the help of some folks on campus that I love to recognize, but David Chip Clark, who is an engineer slash architect slash designer guy. So this Virginia Tech loves cross-disciplinary projects, and this was a good one. So we've got all kind of wonderful plans and engineering schemes that we hope to get out to folks to show them how you put all those parts together for the trellis, instead of, you know, kind of the waving around or the back of the cocktail napkin or whatever like that. So we've got 12 varieties in our variety trials. They were planted in the fall. We'll let you know how that's going. We have a Facebook page, Hops at VT. Please check in with that, follow us. We try to post what's going on in the hop yard. I think our last post was a river runs through it. It was very wet winter for us in Blacksburg, but Blacksburg, we're at a little over 2,000 feet, zone 6, so it's a little, it'll be interesting to see how some of these varieties do at that place. But we've had tremendous support from the Old Dominion Hop Cooperative, Virginia Cooperative Extension, funding from the Virginia Ag Council, from VDACs, and tremendous interest. And just seeing all of you all out here today helps us keep going. And I'd like to thank our research technician, Margaret Aiken, who's out here somewhere. But our whole background is ornamental plants, specifically floriculture, but she's taken to it like a duck to water. And I think we speak for all researchers that are here that we like good beer too. So that's sort of the magic quantity, I think, in all this. So that's what I've got to say. We've got a lot of plans coming up for the future. Hopefully some plants will come up in the spring. We hope to host a field day, kind of a little workshop field day, invite people out to the hop yard once things turn green. So stay tuned for that. It'll be sometime in July. So that's what I'm going to leave you with. But please contact me. Feel free to hopyard@vt.edu. So thank you.
Yeah, I work with Virginia State University, which is the second land-grant university in Virginia. We also built an opiate last year, actually. We managed to build it last year, and it was entirely supported by FEDEX. That is the Virginia Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services. So we put in a few plants last year. We are hoping they'll come back in the spring. And we actually are, what James was speaking about, last year we put all our effort on the physical, on the infrastructure. This year we are going to think about the plants, and so we are going to start the actual experimentation this year. In addition to the support from FEDEX, we also got 2 grants, one where we are working with Dr. Davis and also with Laura in Virginia Tech, where we will do essentially a fertilizer trial, and we'll also scout for diseases and pests. We will also do some agent training when we have, if we have something to show. We'll host a field day, and we'll also try to do some agent training. We also got a smaller grant. We are working with Holly. We are going to look at nitrogen, and we are going to look at 2. I think we are still debating on what varieties to work with. We are going to look at the feeding, the level and the frequency, and what impact it has on performance. So that is the plan we have. I don't have a medium yet through which I'm communicating the results. I'm thinking of probably posting some information on the Old Dominion website, and also setting up something at the university that is, I was talking to something that I can control, because it's always difficult to change things when you're working through IT. So maybe I'll get a Facebook page or something. But thank you.
Okay, how about next, Laura? Why don't you come and tell us what you're doing? And I want you to know I'm on that grant with Rutto. I only got the money last week, but this was my first deliverable, so I get a big check mark, don't I?
You said I have 20 minutes, right? I'm just kidding. And most of y'all have heard this speech from me, but I'm going to give you the rundown on, well, first I'm going to be short. Real quick rundown. Most of what I do is outreach, more so than research. I'm on the extension side of things. I'm a county ag agent who also happens to work with hops as well on the state level a little bit. So in case you haven't heard already, I'm going to give you the spiel real quick. Holly helped develop a website we have now for hops. So we maintain that site now and aggregate all our information on it. So if you want to look at the Virginia resources for hops, just Google Virginia Cooperative Extension, pull up our webpage, and there's a search bar where you can type in anything. But if you type in hops, you'll come to our hops website. We've posted links from other states. North Carolina's information is on there, Maryland, Ohio State, a lot of other good stuff. Presentations are on there. I'm sure we'll post things from this event on that site as well. So that's really where you want to start if you need some resources. As far as other services, we have soil testing. We have a crop code for hops. That's a free service other than shipping the box in, so that's a real good thing to have. We have hops analysis, which you already heard about earlier today. And we have a weed clinic, an insect ID clinic, a disease clinic. So if you think you have hops downy mildew and you want to confirm it, that's something we can work with you to do. Go to your local agent and they'll connect you to those services in your county if you're in Virginia. I think the same goes for most other states as well. We've got some publications. Probably the most useful one is the Pest Management Guide, which is a list of what's recommended and registered for use on hops in our state. When it comes to pesticide-related issues, if you don't understand what the rules are, that's for organic or conventional products. If you don't understand the rules for those, what applies to you will help you with that. If you need to become certified to apply certain products, we can help you with that as well. Other than that, just things coming up, we'll probably send out a grower survey to those of you that live in Virginia in fall of 2016, just like we did this year, to capture some data that helps us help you. We'll be helping some, we've talked a lot about food safety and processing and harvest and trying to understand what rules apply to you. We've heard a lot of that from Ann, which is going to be really immensely helpful. So going into the future, we're hoping to support you guys with that as well. That's all I've got. Thank you.
And all the services she talked about, including the code on the soil test and everything else, is also available in North Carolina. And I really love the partnership we've got going between the two states. I'm really hoping we can move forward faster as a result. Love these collaborative efforts. Colleen, can I put you on the spot? This is getting a little Virginia heavy. Can I put you on the spot? So, Colleen is the one that has this poster here. She's on the breeding project that we're on together. And why don't you just tell a little bit about what you're doing and where we want to go?
I wasn't sure how basic you wanted to get. So I'm Colleen Doherty. I'm at North Carolina State University in the Department of Biochemistry. I'm a very basic scientist, so I work on the molecular level. But I am a circadian clock person, so I study the clock, and I found out when I came here, I was interested in hops because of dormancy, so as a clock person, that's really cool. But I found out when I came here, like one of the biggest problems is photoperiod. And that's something that's been solved over and over again in every crop species except for hops. So we can make a plant long day, we can make a plant short day. It's been done for centuries and centuries by early farmers when we first started agriculture. So what I'm working on is identifying molecular markers in hops from plants that have been used, from the markers that have been used in other species, to try and move that faster so we can identify hops that will grow really well here and be suited for North Carolina photoperiods.
Would that make the genome?
And so no, we'd be looking for markers that you could use for breeding. So these would be say, okay, in maize, when this gene was changed by early Native Americans as they moved maize further north, it made it more photoperiod sensitive to grow better in further north. They found the gene that did that. So if we know what that gene is in maize, we can look in hops and say, let's look for varieties that have changes in that gene and try and select for that trait and push it. So it would not be genetically modified at all. You'd just be using those markers to identify which are your best. So if you've got a very wide population, which ones would be most likely to have that trait that you're interested in? Good question.
Is that on the vegetative propagation side, or would you have to go through a
So hops genetics is a disaster. It's a mess. And so, yeah, the question is, would you want to do that on vegetative propagation side, or would the markers be for going through breeding? So I think we would have to go through breeding to get them, but once you had that line, it would be permanently vegetatively propagated. So yes, so we'll have to do or Janine or somebody will have to do the crossing to get there. But once that is there, then it's permanently vegetative propagated. So we would isolate that into the genome. The other side of this, though, is in addition, I think it's totally possible to make hops that are suited for North Carolina, that do really well here, where you get the same yield that they do in the Pacific Northwest. And I'm sorry. And Virginia, the southeastern, anybody south of the 40th degree. So everybody down here gets good hops. The other side of that, though, is, and I was in a talk earlier, we were talking about the unique flavor profiles of the hops here. And so if we can't make them that, which I think it's totally possible to do. If we can't make them photoperiod sensitive for here, can we look at the flavor profiles for here that are suited for the specific area? So if you're filling your cone during the summer months in the Pacific Northwest, they don't fill it up till September and August. Does that give you a different flavor profile? And can you sell, summer variety North Carolina southeastern hops for twice as much because they have a unique aroma or a new flavor profile? So that's the other side of our lab, is to work on that kind of stuff and find out, okay, what is unique? What are the photoperiod? Our lab calls it the main vine cones, so that we can, those might be unique and unique to the southern states.
Great. Thank you. And so this is just a great example where we take somebody doing really, really basic science, but then we've got a breeder in our program that's going to be able to do the real applied work and hopefully have material for you to see in not too many years. How about you? Sure. Go on, Ken.
Hi, my name is Ken Hurley. I run the hops analysis lab at Virginia Tech. So probably about half of you heard my talk earlier. The important takeaway is that the hops grown in Virginia are different from what's grown in the Pacific Northwest. The acid levels are the same, actually slightly higher, which is better if all you're shooting for is alpha acids. But at the same time, the cohumulone, the alpha acid that imparts the harsh bitterness, is lower. It's about 10% lower. So instead of 33%, it's 30%. And that is a selling point for hops because you get a better bitterness out of them, a more pleasant experience. What we've also found is that the oils, there's about 10% more oils present in the Cascade hops that are grown in Virginia. So right now I'm focusing on, literally right now, the machine is running as we speak. We're looking at the flavor and aroma profiles, what the actual composition of those oils are. And we're doing the very basic ASBC method to find the major oils, but the advantage is we do have the high-tech equipment. So as we were sitting here, I got the email from Professor O'Keefe. He wants all the samples I have to do the more in-depth, to see what tiny amounts of chemicals are there that we can't find in the other ones. So we're doing some very detailed flavor and aroma chemistry on all of these samples. The one question I got a bunch of times after my talk was, will you take samples from me? I'm from another state. The answer is anybody that writes a check, we will take samples from. I don't care who you are, as long as the check doesn't bounce. So send your samples in, we'll add it to the database. Please include where you grew the hops so we can include that as well. And I had a very good talk with Professor Sforza. We're going to look at how the terroir of Virginia interacts with those acids, flavor, and aroma compounds. So we have a lot of capacity for research and a lot of information already. Yes. If you just want the analysis you asked for, it's 50 grams of samples is what the method calls for. That is typically on Cascades, it's about 100 cones. So don't take them all from one vine, take a good sampling. There's sampling information on our website. On something like Chinook, that's more like 50 cones. The more cones you have for more positions in the hop yard, the better. What I would really like is about 150 grams, because that way I can do the alpha acids analysis, but then I can also do the essential oils analysis. If you want the essential oils analysis, I will do that. It costs more, of course, and it takes about 5 days for the complete analysis, but you'll get all the information as soon as I have it. If you don't ask for that, I'll bundle them up, purge them with nitrogen, throw them in the freezer, and do it as I can. And so all of those 97 samples I got in this year are going to be analyzed for oils, total oils, and a breakdown.
Thank you. Peter from Virginia?
Good afternoon. I'm Peter Sforza at Virginia Tech's Center for Geospatial Information Technology. It's been great to interact with many of you today. And a lot of you saw our poster and exhibit with Ingrid and I were out there showing our capabilities for geospatial information systems, GIS. We just finished a 5-year, multi-million-dollar grape and wine project with USDA. Covering 19 states in the eastern U.S. We have an enormous amount of capabilities in terms of our data, models, processing all of these in Virginia Tech's supercomputer, trying to help you find best varieties to plant at your sites. So we have a public and free site assessment tool right now. It's for grapes, but you can ignore the grape section and think about what information we're providing for soil, climate, topography. Been working with Holly and Ken, mentioned the terroir idea, and our North Carolina colleagues. So we're looking forward to engaging in some new research for hops. Basically, our program at the Center for Geospatial focuses on site assessment. So let's drill down through tools, through all these layers. Then we can actually, if we have good data on different varieties, we can simulate the growth of those and validate them with field data from these variety trials. Then we can move on to geo-design of a hops yard or a vineyard. What row orientation, what trellis type, optimizing light interception, thinking about cold air drainage, all these kind of factors that might be important. And then finally, in the management and operations side, we're running a lot of real-time data and forecast models, mainly from weather, meteorological sources. So we've already, in grapes, implemented 5 different disease models. We haven't done downy mildew yet, but it'll be pretty similar to hops, we think. And so thank you all again for the interactions, and I look forward to next hops conference. It's been great. Thanks.
Do we still have Brian Pearson here? Brian. So we think we have issues growing south. Here's the research program from Florida. Brian?
Thank you, Janine. Brian Pearson, University of Florida. I started this about 4 years ago. I had to first prove to my administration this wasn't a crazy idea. We are sitting at 29 degrees latitude, and so we have less photo period than what you guys have. I think on June 21st, we top out at 13 hours and 58 minutes of photo period. The big thing is we're starting up from ground zero. There has been massive differences in response among the varieties that we've tested. We've only tested a handful of them. This past year, we just finished up a 2-year study, looked very hopeful. Right now, we've done some photo interruption in an inside open-sided greenhouse, and so we actually harvested hops on Monday. Pretty nice, good yield coming off of those. But manipulation under controlled environments is really what we're looking at right now as a baseline. We're also about to embark on a 2-year study looking at 40 different varieties between where I'm at in the Orlando Research Center and the Tampa Research Center, as well as looking at different fertilizer regimes so that we can make recommendations to our stakeholders and growers in the state. Thank you.
Do we have any other researchers? Okay, thought we got them all. In North Carolina, what we're doing, so we're going into our 6th year in our variety trial, and we continue to change out those varieties. That is what the growers have all said would be most useful for them. We're constantly writing grant proposals to expand our research into new ways. We have lots of things that we would like to look at, but it all comes down to funding. That's a conversation I would really like to see us all have. I think now this industry is getting to the point where we can have a voice in where some of our university dollars go. We also can, whenever you are asked for a letter from a researcher, and it will usually be that I need this like in 2 days, right? Please have a stock letter ready to go. Those letters make all the difference in the world. My 2 big hop grants, there was no question. I had a stack of letters like this from brewers and hop growers, and those ensured my first 2 grants. So we will continue to have our variety trials going. We offer monthly hop tours. Where's Kelly? Kelly, raise your hand. Kelly, stand up a minute. Kelly is really my hops person. So I sit in the office and raise money, and Kelly's out in the hop yard doing real work. So Kelly runs our hop tours, and those have been really, really popular to come out, and it's usually small group, you know, a dozen, 18 people, and you spend the afternoon just all talking hops together, and I think it's rewarding for her and everyone that comes. So that's what's going on in my program.